of the most spoken about stories in the last 24 hours, Eskom has become the second state-owned entity to be granted a PFMA exemption by the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana. Now, essentially, it means that for 3 years, Eskom will no longer be obliged to disclose and report irregular and fruitless expenditure in its annual financial statements. That decision has been widely criticized by civil society and business groups. Let's take a moment to hear then from Sysman Motloung, a political science lecturer at the Northwest University. Good morning, and I appreciate your time, Sysman. So just help us understand your view on this. Is this something from a political perspective makes sense, or this doesn't make sense at all? Because while it is a politician, i.e. the finance minister, that makes this decision, it has a very real effect on how South Africans perceive Eskom. Good morning.
Morning, Gareth. And I think in my understanding, what I see here is a technicality to allow Eskom to continue with a clean audit mainly, but the aspect of governance and scrutiny to ensure that they prevent wasteful expenditure is something they will not get rid of. In simple terms, so how I understand it is allowing somebody who has a bad credit record to continue taking money, but that behavior of not paying and defaulting is expunged from their credit record. So you are clean on the paper, but in practice you are not really.
And it's odd because it seems that many people we've spoken to will agree with you that everyone seems to know this is going to cause a problem at Eskom. So politically, this is a very interesting move to make as a finance minister when we are going into national elections next year. Of course, many of those in government are from the ANC, of course. It's an interesting choice to make now and upset the public so close to a national election.
No, I don't think so much that those who made the decision really tried to link it with the impact on the electoral outcome. What they want to do is to mainly ensure that Eskom has a fair chance, if you'd say, to really interact with the financial markets. If they were to borrow money, their credit rating is good. And this is what we hear from the department. They are saying what you see is that companies in the private sector don't have the encumbrance of a PFMA. They can still have a wasteful expenditure, but it does not reflect on their financial statements. So this is what they want to allow Eskom to do, that their financial statements are clean, and then on their annual report, this is where they can show off what they really are missing. And it's now on the funders to really examine on themselves whether Eskom is something that is really fruitful, is something that is appetizing to invest in. Politically, it really doesn't make a difference because the market already knows how Eskom is governed. So I don't really understand how they would want to do that instead of really working internally to ensure that their reporting and processes of financial management are up to date.
It does create a sense of anxiety as well, though, and some people would say it's not terribly surprising because we had the former CEO, Andre de Ruyter, coming out. He was with Enoch Godongwana here on eNCA and ETV, saying that almost R1 billion a month is being lost as well. And now we bring into the fact that there's an exemption for Eskom. It doesn't say much for the trust and the optics of Eskom, does it?
Definitely. In fact, those who are suspicious about this would want to think Treasury is now giving Eskom a blank check, if you want to say, because you'll have so much money that is wasted for whatever reason and whatever means. And then this does not have an implication in terms of their financial reports. You are not really sending a serious message to Eskom to manage its finances well. So others are saying this is a time for Eskom to really misspend without consequences. So we've been hearing in the past over a year now, the public sector is talking about consequence management. But now this decision that Treasury is making, it does not really bode well for that message of strengthening consequence management in public entities.
As I say goodbye to you, is there a belief that the finance minister could and should roll this back, knowing how much criticism is being leveled against the decision? Is it something that you think the finance minister should roll back on? Government should maybe put the brakes on this, a bit like Tottenham Hotspur, a bit like a massive flagpole? Maybe not such a good idea. Should they roll this one back, do you think?
I think the uproar that comes with this shows the activity in our civil society, that they are really watching policy positions closely. But in my view, I don't think the minister would really undo this action. Rather, they will retain it, maybe even to a point of going to court to defend it. Because Eskom is a strategic entity. You've had in the State of the Nation address by the president in terms of the reforms that they are making in that entity. Therefore, they will defend this, they will go on with it, because they want, as their position is, they want to keep a clean record for Eskom to really have maneuvering space in terms of the financial market. It is very important for government. So is that priority? They will not really renege on this one.
So I suppose you can imagine in closing then that the argument here is going to be that while government is trying to get a clean audit, make the books look okay, it's not being done in the most transparent of ways. Is my interpretation of what you're saying, Sysman, correct?
No, I think Eskom will say we're not really getting rid of transparency. What we're supposed to really expose in our financial statement, we will do in the integrated report. So when you read the annual report section on financials, you will see what as Eskom we have misspent on and mismanaged. But that is all that. The impact is the consequences. It is more serious when reflected on the financial statement, because now Eskom is not really an interesting venture to invest in. That's what they are protecting. Otherwise, these are all narratives. It is something politically they can manage. I think this is what they are more confident on doing.
So it sounds like it's more about a narrative for the government than anything else. Sysman, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I appreciate your input this morning into the debate. Sysman Motloung, political science lecturer at the Northwest University. Wayne Duvenage from Outer earlier saying it's like lowering the pass mark for exams, and it should not be allowed.